Yeah, right? By the way, you have a very important job. Your job is to actually stop me from shuffling. Because I'm going to shuffle a lot. Okay?
I just tell you when to stop.
You just tell me when to stop. Yeah, because some people feel like,
Standard 52 card
it's a standard 52 deck. Yeah. In fact, in a moment you're going to see it, right? Now some people feel right here. Right here is good. Okay, perfect. All right. What is it? I'm sorry. He wanted to go more. All right. So take a look. Okay, just because I shuffled as often as I did, okay, I want to show you. Okay, take a look. Because when you asked me to stop where I did, obviously the cards are shuffled, right? Okay. Are you ready for the moment of magic?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Like oil and water, the red is so heavy it drops to the bottom of the deck. The black is so light that it rises to the top of the deck.
No way.
No!
Just when you thought it's not going to happen. Are you ready? Every red card. Every black card. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you. So here is the secret of the Cosmos 3 deck. Now, when you receive your package, when you first open up the cards, you're going to see the Cosmos 3 advertisement, and it's a short card that actually has the link for these video instructions, which I'm sure you've already used to find this video, so you can put that aside. The Rostami Magic advertisement, you can put that aside. And essentially, what the Cosmos 3 deck is, the spades and the hearts in this deck of cards are completely ungimmicked. So as you go through them, you'll notice there's nothing wrong with those. But then when you get to the clubs and the diamonds, you could see that it's a little more than a false pip. It's about, I would say, about a quarter of the card, which has got the opposite color. So essentially, all of the clubs have the diamond that's on one corner. And as we move forward here to all of the diamonds, you'll notice that the diamonds have, of course, the clubs in the opposite corner as well. So that's the first way that the cards are gimmicked. The second way that the cards are gimmicked is that this is a stripper deck, which means that as many times as I can shuffle and shuffle and shuffle, in a moment we're going to teach you exactly how you do the strip out move. You'll be actually stripping out all the colors from one another. But because of this gimmicked deck where the colors are falsely pipped, you can show that the cards are fully shuffled. So let's first go ahead and start with the basic marking that you need to do for your Cosmos 3 deck. All right, so when you take the cards out of the box, this is the way you're going to set up your Cosmos 3 deck for the first time. As you spread through the cards, you're going to see that the spades and the clubs actually are at the bottom of the deck, and eventually you're going to get to where the ace of clubs joins up with another ace of clubs. When in reality, when you take the cards apart, you'll notice that this is the side of the deck where all the red cards are. So just simply take all the red cards and flip them around 180 degrees. So what will now happen is that when you put the cards together, you'll notice that because this is a stripper deck, you could see that the red cards are now slightly jogged out away from the black cards. And this is not only on the top, but it's also at the bottom as well because of the stripper deck principle. So once you know that this is correctly aligned, when you spread the cards out, you can see that right now the reds and the blacks are separated. And also, because of the way that the cards are unevenly split, you can really spread the cards out a lot. So for example, on the six of clubs, you can see I have to go really far until you can see the gimmicked part of the card right here. And later on in the explanation video, you're going to see how this is very handy at the last phase of your performance. So now we are ready for the marking system. All right. Before we show you how you're going to actually mark these cards, make sure that when you spread the cards right now, you're going to be seeing the majority of the face which is ungimmicked, which is in this case like the 10 of clubs, you're seeing that, while the gimmicked part of it is in the lower right-hand corner. Another good indicator for that is that if the ace of spades is pointing in the right direction and you can actually read the word bicycle, this is the best place for you to be. So now you're going to flip the cards over like this and bring out your fine-tipped Sharpie. Now, you can find these Sharpies at any office supply store. I've been using this one for years, and it still hasn't run out, and I highly recommend these fine-tipped Sharpies for marking your cards. So essentially, they're retractable, so once you pull it out, I usually like to mark right here on that corner, so as we get closer, we'll show you exactly the little spot you're going to use for the marks. This is my favorite spot to mark these cards to make them essentially a one-way deck. So with the Sharpie pointer out, you're just going to do a little dab of paint right here in that corner. So it's going to take that white curly cue and it's going to essentially red it out. So one card at a time, you are just going to go through one by one, tapping just a little dab of red paint there in the corner. And as you put the cards aside, make sure that you don't overlap the cards on top of one another so that the red paint that you have there doesn't rub off on the other cards. And you give it a little bit of time to dry out. Okay? So it's going to take you maybe about 5 minutes actually to go through the entire deck, marking off the cards one at a time. So once you've gone through and have marked all of the cards, all 52 cards, there's only one other mark that's left to be done, and that's going to be only for the gimmicked cards. So turn the cards face up, and let's go ahead and find all the gimmicked cards, which are going to be the clubs and the diamonds. So let's actually pull out all the clubs and diamonds. There we are. Perfect. You can put the other cards aside. And then when you flip the cards back around again, okay, make sure that wherever you had your marking, so in this case, because we had the marking here in the upper left-hand corner, make sure that that is the corner that once again has the marking on it, facing the upper left-hand corner. Now, because you want to mark all of the gimmicked cards, the second marking is going to be right here, right along the edge, right there. So take a look. Once again, that little white curly cue, just put a little dab of paint, a little red mark, right along the edge there. So it's going to darken that little curly cue. And this time around, there's only 26 cards of these that you got to do. So just like that. So you got both the marking that's going to be here in the upper right-hand corner, and you also have the one that's here right along the side. So there's going to be just 26 of these, and again, you should be done in less than 5 minutes for all of them. All right. So to summarize, you'll notice that the card that is here all the way at the top is simply an unmarked card, so which means that there is no marking here on the curly cue next to the angel's head, and of course on the side we don't have any marking either. And then when we look at the cards that we did just mark, all of the cards in the deck have been marked so that the upper left-hand corner has got the marking that's right there in the upper left, which essentially makes it into a one-way deck, which later on in the explanation you'll see why it's important. And then finally, the cards that are marked, that are the gimmicked cards, have the little marking that's right along the left edge. So the entire deck essentially is now a one-way deck that shows you which side is up, and it shows you which sides are gimmicked, which cards are gimmicked. So since we have already marked the cards, essentially I like to start off with the deck where I take an ungimmicked card and I put it right on the face of all of the black cards. So you can see that here is all the black cards on one side. And I will also take an ungimmicked card and put it on the face of all the red cards. And in a moment you're going to see why this is really important, because essentially when you take the cards out of the box, you're going to just start shuffling them. I like to cut the cards right along the natural break that happens for the stripper deck. So with my thumb, I find that break, I tap the cards on a table, and this gives you a wonderful subtlety where everybody can see the full face of the two cards. Of course, you don't have to call attention to it. It's just a little subtlety that people are going to remember that, yeah, they saw the entire face. And then you do a nice riffle shuffle. So all the shuffles that you're going to do right now are going to be genuine. And I like to do the order of the shuffling that you're seeing me do right now, which is a riffle shuffle. And also when it comes to actually the riffling process, I riffle the cards away from my body. So this way, if I'm riffling like this, there might be a possibility that somebody can get a glimpse of some gimmicked cards, which would be bad. You don't want to do that. So as you point the cards away from your spectators, riffle the cards, spread them apart, and do a nice riffle shuffle, all right, and a few other cuts. All right, so now by this point, your spectators are convinced that you have actually shuffled the cards, right? Now here is the only move that you will ever do in Cosmos 3, which is the strip out move. Pick up the cards. With your thumb, you're gonna riffle along the right edge, and as you riffle, essentially the larger of the stripped out cards is going to riffle past your thumb. About halfway in the deck, cut the cards. So this, to your spectators, it just looks like you just cut the cards in half. Now, with the cards in a vertical orientation, you want to have as much air come in between the cards. So there's going to be air both at the top and the bottom. Just make sure your cards are in a nice vertical orientation. Your thumb and your middle finger is going to go here at the top, while your thumb and your middle finger here will go to the bottom. Now here is where the strip out move happens. Take a look. You just simply pull, all right? Now when you pull the cards, if you had the cards maybe this way, okay, people would be able to see that you're actually stripping out the cards, which would not be very nice. But because you're orienting the cards so that the back of the cards are facing your spectator, it simply looks like you have just pulled off a small, or I should say a large part of the cards away from the deck. Once these cards come apart from each other, you're going to continue that overhand motion, just like this. So that's what it looks like when it's slow. And the moment that I'm done, I riffle my thumb along the edge to look to see if there's any cards that have been left behind. And it doesn't look like there's any cards that have been left behind. So that's a perfect strip out. All right? So that is the movement. I'm going to do that just one more time, just so you can see exactly what that's like. So we cut the cards, do a riffle shuffle, couple of cuts, okay? And here is what it looks like in speed. Just looks like a, typical Hindu shuffle. And then the moment that you're done, at this point, usually what I'll do is I'll slightly tilt the cards away from myself so I can see what the bottom card is. If you see that your bottom card is a gimmicked card, with your thumb, you're going to do kind of like an overhand shuffle. And essentially what you're doing right now is you're looking for an ungimmicked card. So as you pull that off, in this case, I was lucky. I got immediately the next card over was ungimmicked. I pull that off as well, and I dump all the cards next to it. So this way, we now know that if I was to turn the cards face up, they would not see a gimmicked card. Another thing that I'm keeping a watch out for right now is I'm looking to see if I can see the marking in the upper left-hand corner or not. So at this phase of the routine, because I want to show that the cards truly are shuffled, I'm going to make sure that the pips isn't colored in, which is the unmarked part of it. And now you turn the cards face up and you actually spread through the cards. And because of the false pipped nature of the Cosmos 3 deck, this is really nice because essentially all you're doing right now is you're showing everybody that the cards are obviously mixed. Right after the spread, we now need to turn the cards end for end. One or two different ways I like to do that. After I do the spread, I close the spread by turning my wrist face down. Okay, let me do that for you one more time, just so you can see it. You spread the cards out. Everybody can see that, sure enough, they're shuffled. All the reds and the blacks are shuffled. When you want to close the fan, as you close it, your right wrist, is simply going to turn face down. So now this is going to turn over the cards, or I should say, turn them around 180 degrees. This time now, in the upper left-hand corner, you should see your marked corner, which means if you were to spread the cards out now, we would get all the colors separate. Here's where you're going to do your magical gesture, a snap and a wave, and now very flamboyantly, you spread the cards out that show, oh yeah, we just separated all of the red ones from all of the black ones. And that's the most basic effect you could do with the Cosmos 3 deck. This is a wonderful effect that you're going to present as kind of like a kicker climax to doing the basic red and black separation, where you had made a prediction on a piece of paper that you had given to your spectators even before you began the effect. Here's what it looks like. Grab any piece of paper, doesn't matter if it's a Sharpie, it could be a receipt or whatever, and you're gonna essentially write down 2 cards and make these cards be something kind of weird, and also make sure that these cards are the cards that are ungimmicked in the deck. So let's say I want to do the 7 of spades, okay, and we're gonna also do a hearts, so let's say we do the other card as the 9 of hearts, okay. So when you write this down in front of your spectators, you're going to keep it as a surprise, meaning you're going to make the writing and not show it to anybody, and then you'll peel it off, fold it, and give it to your spectators so they're going to hang on to it. So I'll put it right here in this corner, but you'll ask your spectators to essentially put that in their pocket or just to put it away, So now, when you're ready to perform the effect, right before you start, you're going to take the 2 cards, which are going to be essentially your force cards, the 7 of spades and the 9 of hearts, and locate it in the deck and turn them around, okay? So, 7 of spades is right over here. All you're going to do when you find that card is just turn it end to end, 180 degrees, and then the 9 of hearts, which is once again there, turn it end to end, and now you are ready to perform. Okay, so you start out exactly the same way as we did before. You give the cards a shuffle, right? And of course, as you know, you can shuffle the cards right now as often as you like, right? And then it's time for you to do the move, which is the riffle across the top. Make sure you got some air, pull the cards aside, and now you've stripped all the cards apart from each other. So the only thing that's going to be different right now is that when you pull the cards apart from each other, okay, like this, just first, as always, check to see if the bottom card on each side is going to be the ungimmicked card. So on this side, I can see that there's no marking. That's ungimmicked. Same for this side over here. As I spread it out, if I see that it's ungimmicked, that means I'm ready to go. So now I flip the cards over and I show that, just like before, that sure enough, the cards are mixed up on this side, right? On this side, the same thing. As you flip it around, you show that, of course, again, they're mixed up. So reds and the blacks are all separate on that side, right? Here's where the magic happens. Watch. All the reds, all the blacks. Watch. All the blacks. Ooh, it looks like we didn't miss one over there, doesn't it? And then on this side, all the reds. Yeah, only 1 card off, right? But do you remember that prediction that I had written for you on that paper before we started? Why don't you open it up and see what it says? So when they open it up, they can see it says 7 of spades and the 9 of hearts. So this is a great way of, once again, displaying your skill in that even though it looks like you had made an error, you did actually separate them correctly. Here is a great exhibition of your superhuman skills of memorization. So you're going to start out actually with your Cosmos 3 deck, and you're going to shuffle it in front of your spectators. There's no need for you to show that their reds and blacks are separate. Just shuffle, shuffle, shuffle right in front of them, okay? And of course, you're going to get to the point where you do the strip out move. All right? So now all the cards have been stripped out. Make sure you've got the right corner over here. Check to see if your bottom card is okay. And now you can actually flip it over to show that all of the colors are mixed and shuffled. So now you call attention to the fact that you are going to perfectly memorize the orders of the cards. Now don't say anything about the reds or the blacks. Just simply say, I'm going to memorize the entire deck. And you say, I'm going to give myself about 7 seconds to do it. And so you quickly start going through the cards. And as you're going through them, you're pushing them off as fast as you can. Push, 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 push as fast as you can. And then when you're done, really quickly, slap it down on the table. You're like, I got it. All right. That's essentially, you are pretending like you memorized the entire deck. Now, as you stand up straight, all right, take a look at this. Your head is going to tilt all the way back. If you want, you can even have a spectator actually close your eyes. But you can essentially prove to everybody that with their head tilted up like this, you can't see anything. You can't see the cards that are in your hands. So now, as you look at the cards that are in my hands, I'm going to pretend like I'm going to separate all the colors. And all you're going to do now is just pure pantomime. Pull off maybe 2 or 3 cards. 1 card goes at the top, the bottom, 3, 2, just keeps going and going, right? And as you're doing this, you're taking a couple of deep breaths. 2, 1, 3, 1. And sometimes I might even say something under my breath, just as if I'm going through my memory and I squint as I'm trying to remember, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. Slap the cards down. So now you're pretending like you have separated the red cards from the black cards. And so now as you look at the deck, what's going to happen is there will be a natural break that will be about a quarter of the way down in the deck. All you want to do here is make sure you cut to that point and bring that to the top. Now you are ready to rock and roll. And this is what I absolutely love about this part of the trick. Just when you get here, very triumphantly, turn the cards over and spread them out on the deck, table. And what you said you were going to do is exactly what you've done, and you have perfectly separated all the reds from the blacks because of your superhuman memory. Oh yeah. All right, this next effect is a double-phased effect where first you're going to separate the suits that are in the deck, and then instantly you will separate the reds from the blacks. And it's another one of the great attributes of the Cosmos 3 deck. So when you go back to the cards, start off by doing the same kind of separation of the cards, and make sure that you have an ungimmicked card on the faces of both the red side and the black side, and go ahead and do a nice shuffle. Riffle shuffle there. Once the cards are shuffled, okay, and as you already know, because of the Stubber deck principle, you can shuffle it as often as you like. You're going to riffle the cards here in the upper left-hand corner with your thumb until you get to the point where somewhere around the middle is fine. You'll cut the deck, and this is going to be very important for the subtlety of stripping out the cards. So as we explained before, you want to hold the cards in a vertical orientation, thumb and middle finger here on one end, thumb and middle finger on the other end, and just pull. And as you pull, now, again, the cards are going to separate, and you continue this motion of your overhand shuffle, which is now going to strip out all the red cards apart from all the black cards. Now, as you look at the bottom card, if you see it's a gimmicked card, in this case it is actually gimmicked, so I see that, and that's why I push off a few cards until I get to an ungimmicked card, which is that one right here. So there, I dump it down, and now I'm ready to show a mixed up deck. Here's what happens. You're going to actually cut the deck now into 2 halves, okay? Now, you already know that on this side, the cards are fine, meaning that the bottom card is ungimmicked. When you take this side over here and you spread it out a bit, if you see that the bottom card of this side does not have the marking on it, it means that this side is fine too. Which means on both sides right now, if you were to turn the decks face up, you would see an ungimmicked card. Right after you do this, you're going to now show that the cards are mixed. So pick this side up, and now because I can see the marking in the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to make sure that I turn it over end to end as I spread the cards. So now it's going to look like the cards are simply shuffled. When in reality, you have said to your spectator, hey, did you know that I just separated the deck? And they're like, no, it doesn't look like they're separate. Like, well, you weren't paying close enough attention. Because, as you can see here, all of the spades and the diamonds have been separated on this side. spades, diamonds, diamonds, spades, diamonds, spades, as he keeps going through, which is really, really amazing, which would mean if all the spades and the diamonds are on this side, we should have, of course, on this side here, all of the hearts and the clubs. Right? So one by one as you go through them, again, hearts, clubs, clubs, hearts, clubs, going all the way down. Now, in this phase of the trick, make sure that as you spread the cards out, you don't spread them out too far. So let's say, for example, if we're looking at a 4 of clubs, which is a gimmicked card, if you push this too far away, right there, you're going to get a peak. So please be sure that you don't do that. You don't push it too far away. So here's another good example. Let's say the 9 of clubs. If I go too far, people are going to see that it's actually gimmicked. So as long as you keep that in mind, when you spread the cards out, you're going to get this really beautiful showing of the hearts and the clubs truly have been separated, right? Now, here's where things get really good. So when you put the cards back together again, just like this, say the only problem with separating out the suits, that it's not very obvious. If we could do real magic, here's what it would look like. Do a little riffle like this, turn the cards over end for end, and so now when you spread the cards out, all the reds and all the blacks have been separated. This is a great way of using the subtleties that are built into the Cosmos 3 deck, mainly because, as you already know, if you spread the cards out from one direction, they're going to be shown as all separate colors, or mixed up colors. But if you spread the cards out in the other direction, they're going to be red and black, and it's going to give you a wonderful two-phased effect. So here is an amazing mentalism or invisible thought of card transposition that you can do with your Cosmos 3 deck. First, start out just by showing that you've got 2 packets of cards. Now, I'm going to have George, who's behind the camera, be the spectator, okay? George, should we use the cards that are on my right side or the left side? Which one do you want to think about?
Right side.
Right side, perfect. George, I'm going to spread through the cards here, and I want you to only think of whichever card you like. Now, please don't think of the Ace of Hearts. That's a little common one, okay? Just think of any card you like. You got a card in mind?
Got it.
You got it? Okay, perfect. All right. Now, George, I do want to show you that if you were to look on this side, whatever card you were thinking of, it's not in this side, is it?
Nope.
It's not, right? Okay. So here's where the magic happens. A little bit of a shuffle. George, I think I know what card you're thinking of. Because all I got to do is, watch, pick up your card invisibly from your side and move it over to that side. Now, even though it doesn't really look like anything has happened, and even though you never told me what card you're thinking of, take a look. George, would you agree that the card that you were thinking of is no longer on the right side?
It's not.
It's not, yes. By the way, George, what card were you thinking of?
King of Diamonds.
The King of Diamonds. Oh my gosh, take a look over here, my friend. The King of Diamonds now has traveled to this side of the deck. And that's how you will take any thought of card and magically move it from one side to the other. So now here is the explanation for any thought of card transposition. So essentially what you want to do with your Cosmos 3 deck is bring out just the Ace of Hearts and the Ace of Spades, which you're going to leave at the bottom of the 2 packs. And then also you're going to bring out all of the gimmicked cards, which are going to be all of the clubs and all of the diamonds. So essentially here's what you want to do. First, make sure that you sort the cards in order. So here we go, 1, 2, 3, and go all the way to the end. 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King. There we go. So that's one side, sorted, and same for the other side, sort from 1 through 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, King. Okay, perfect. So once you have sorted these, here is the way you're going to create this seemingly mixed up set of cards. You put one card down from over here, one card down from over here. But then you switch the other packs around. So you're going to go this, like this, like this. So you go straight up, and then you cross over, straight up, cross over, up, crossover, up, crossover, up, crossover, and then finally up, okay? So what this is going to do is for every red card on this side, there's going to be a corresponding card on this side, which is on the opposite side. So for example, an ace of diamonds, you can see, is over here as well as an ace of diamonds. Right after you do this, actually mix these cards up, okay? Okay, give it a nice fair shuffle. Let's mix it up, mix, 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 good. So they're going to be in a nice random order, okay? And you can even like actually split them up and try to mix them up any way you like. And the same for the other side. And it really doesn't matter what the order is going to be right now because you really do want to make it look as random as possible. Okay, so now this is where the orientation of the cards once again is really, really important because you are going to make sure that when they're face down, they're facing the same orientation. So make sure that the little pips that you have are going to actually line up on both sides. So the pips are lining up over here, and the pips are lining up over here, and you are ready to perform. One last thing is, on both sides, go ahead and put a ungimmicked card, so that's going to hide the gimmicks that are there, and leave the two packets face down, and you approach your spectator. So essentially, what you say to your spectator is when you turn the cards face up, you say, I want you to think of either one of the sides, that you're going to be just thinking of a card from either one of the sides. And so let's say, for example, they say they want to think of a card that's going to be from this side, right? So you pick this packet up and you turn it face up, and as you spread, you say to them, please don't think of that one there, the ace of hearts, that's an obvious one. You know, so that makes sure that they're not going to go for that one. You say, just from any of these other cards, I want you to think of any card that you like. So let's say the spectator thinks of the 5 of clubs. So remember, the spectator is only thinking of the 5 of clubs. So when you want to close the spread, you're going to use the subtlety that we've learned before, which means as you close, you're actually turning the deck over end to end. So it's this way over here. On this other side over here, since they've thought about the 5 of clubs, take this side and spread the cards out once again, just to show everybody that the 5 of clubs is not on this side, okay? So you spread the cards out, show them that yes, the 5 of clubs is not over there, and on this side here, you turn them end to end, and you leave the cards face down. Okay, so here's where the magic happens, where you say to them, remember, you're only thinking of a card, and I'm going to take the card that you're only thinking of from over here and move it from here to over there. Okay. Here's something else that I like to do also, which is kind of fun. I take whatever's going to be the destination packet, and I give it like a little bit of a shuffle just before I continue. And even the source packet, I give it a shuffle. The shuffle I do in such a way so that the bottom card stays at the bottom, but the other cards go across the top. So if they had remembered where their card was in the spread, because of that shuffle, they now no longer know where anything else in the spread, right? So the magical gesture is you show your hand, right? You put your hand on the top of the deck. You're like, that card right there. This is the card you're thinking of. And you move the card very magically to the other side, and you're like, there it is. I just moved your card. So obviously nothing has happened yet. And you say, even though you've never told me what your card is, as you're about to turn this deck over, make sure you flip it over end to end, or not just end to end, just vertically like this. As you spread the cards out, they will notice that their 5 of clubs is missing from the packet, because obviously all the cards are missing. And this really freaks them out because they're like, wait a minute, my card is gone. And so the moment that they realize their card is missing, you ask them, by the way, what was the card you were thinking of? And they say, 5 of clubs, right? Leave this packet face up in front of them. And on the other side, when you turn this face up, as you spread through them, very triumphantly show that yes, the card that you were thinking of, the 5 of clubs, has now moved to this side of the deck. And that is how you will perform a thought of card transposed. So here are the closing thoughts for Cosmos 3. I'm going to first start by giving credit to every magician that has explored this plot over the history of Magic. So using split cards for kind of like doing an unshuffled trick was also done by my buddy Anton James. And as we go further and further back, we go to the Princess card trick that was done by Henry Harden. That's going way back in the history of Magic. And even recently, Matthew Beach, as brilliant as he is, released Chaos with Theory 11. So these are all of the previous magicians that have explored this, and my contribution has been to bring the ideas of split cards with an uneven split and a stripper deck all together into one for this very, very utilitarian deck. Now, as far as some of the utilities and or closing thoughts about the Chaos 3 deck is, or the Cosmos 3 deck, pardon me. When you first start out the effect, when it's actually in the box, obviously just make sure that you always leave the cards in the box with an ungimmicked card at the bottom. So if you're doing any kind of like strolling magic, you're not going to ever worry about, bringing the cards out and turning them face up to be embarrassed by, a gimmicked card at the bottom. So that's really important. And if you go as far as making sure that even when you cut, there's going to be an ungimmicked card, that goes a long way too. So just make sure that you do that too, so both the cards are going to be ungimmicked. That's the first tip that I would like to give you. The other tip is that sometimes when you do the strip out move, okay, I'm going to do the taps, shuffle, all right, and we'll actually go ahead and do the strip out. So it's very, very important to keep the cards not only perfectly vertically, but to also leave some air coming in between the cards, okay? If the cards are stuck together too tight, the cards will not strip correctly. So please just let a little bit of air come in here. Don't rush it. Really put your fingers on one end, the fingers on the other end, and you'll notice that the cards are just going to strip out like butter. It's going to be really, really smooth. The biggest mistake that I see magicians make is that they actually rush this move. In the beginning, please don't rush it. Over time, you'll get more and more confident about the move. So then after you do that initial move and you continue to do the overhand shuffle, let's say you actually cut the cards at this point where the natural break is. Here's a great way to clean up if there's been any stragglers left behind. Take both sides of the deck and just cut it in half, all right? And run your fingers along the sides of it. If you see that there is an extra card that's sticking out, don't worry about it. Strip that card out and put it on the other side. So, same for the other side. You're going to cut those cards. And cutting the cards is going to mean that if there's cards that are close to the top or the bottom that were cards that were left behind, it's going to force those cards to go closer to the middle so that when you move your fingers along the edges of them, then you will really be able to feel which card's out of place. You can strip them out and move it to the other side. So if you see that the cards are not correct, please don't worry about it. Don't rush it. People don't know about the strip out move. So they're not going to catch you, okay? I think the magicians oftentimes are running when they're not being chased. So don't run, all right? So then one of the other things that's important to keep in mind about performing with the Cosmos 3 deck is whenever you are going to come to a point where you want to flip the cards over to show maybe the faces are shuffled or the colors are separated, and you're really afraid of flashing a gimmicked card, okay? Again, you don't have to rush this, and you don't have to even sweat about it as far as doing an overhand shuffle. My best recommendation to you is pick up either one of the two sides that you've just split on the table and push off the cards until you get to an ungimmicked card. So right now, that's an ungimmicked card right there. I see that card. I turn the cards face up to show that they're all red, and I move this to the bottom of the deck. So now that guarantees that the card that's at the bottom is a ungimmicked card where you can show the full face. Now, this is in the process of showing your spectators that exactly what you said is happening, that you are really separating the red cards from the blacks. So same on this side, you're going to push off some cards until you get to the point where you see a ungimmicked card. You turn it over, you show it's black, you move it to the bottom, and then at this point, you could actually turn it over. All the blacks are on one side, all right, and on this other side over here, you can just turn that around and show that, sure enough, all the reds are on this side. All right. A couple of other things that's important about the Cosmos 3 deck is when you are on the final reveal, because of this asymmetrical nature of it, when it comes time for you to do a nice big spread, don't worry about it. Do that big spread. And as long as you keep your spreads moving to a lower right-hand corner position, you're always going to be guaranteed to cover that false pipped corner. Okay? Now, this is in contrast to what would happen if you were to take the cards and just spread them linearly straight across the table like this. Sometimes when you do that, you might actually accidentally push the cards off like this. And if you were to do that, you're going to flash some of the red here in the lower right-hand corner, which would be bad, you know? So by making sure that when you spread the cards on a table, you give kind of like a downward arc to it, you get a really nice big spread on a table, and it's going to guarantee you that you're not going to get any of those false pips showing at the bottom. Finally, I would like to thank everybody in my life that has inspired Cosmos 3. These are plots and magic that have been my passions since I was literally 10 years old. This is truly a wonderful utility deck that your creativity is going to come up with so many other useful things that you can do with it. So let your imagination run wild, and if you come up with something amazing, look me up on Facebook and let me know what you came up with. Thank you very much for purchasing Cosmos 3.